Welcome and welcome back, everybody, to the OK Grognard Show. Today is Wednesday, December 11th, 2024, 10 a.m. Central in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And today we're taking a final look at the actual appendix. It's the first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Master's Guide, Appendix A, Part 3. We're looking at the rest of the tables. Doesn't mean we'll never revisit Appendix A. I think we want to mess around with that at some point. Here's Prometheus in the chat. Thanks for stopping in there, buddy. It's much appreciated. And, yeah. Dungeon Master's Guide. Best book ever. Am I wrong? Don't tell me I'm wrong. I don't want to hear it. Appendix A. Quick look. Remember, it's random dungeon generation. And we looked through most of it, probably about 2/3 of it, I think. Or I think there like 24 tables, and we looked at like 16 or 17 of them. We left off with a final one on treasure. Remember the starters? We saved that for later, right? But, yeah. Oh, I know. Let's pop over here. The thing to remember is treasure is hidden by. That was treasure 5J. Table 5J. And we talked about how they were hidden. Loose stone in the floor. You know, it doesn't have to be complicated, right? Prometheus says, love that book. First exposure to D&D. Absolutely. And what a great way to find out how complex a fake world can be. Loose stone in the wall. You know, and these don't have to be super well hidden. Maybe just anybody who's walking close enough can notice them. It doesn't have to be like a secret door where it has to be an elf or a half elf to just simply notice something like that. In any event, Table 6 was about stairs. And what happens with these stairs? Go down one level, go down 2 levels, go down 3 levels, up 1 level. You know, you don't have to have just stacked levels directly on top of one another with stairs that go up and down just 1 level each and be that regimented about it. You know, there can be danger down below. Up to a dead end, that'll keep them busy for a while. And if there's a monster chasing them, down to a dead end. 1 in 6 chance it's a shoot. A lot of times those would be an old school danger. Hey, the Vince himself is in the chat. How you doing, Vince? The shoot wouldn't be obvious, right? You'd get on the stairs and about halfway down there'd be some sort of a pressure plate or something that would not collapse the stairs completely, but would drop them down into a ramp, or a pit would open and it would drop into a separated chute, not part of the stairs itself, but below the stairs. And so, you know, any number of ways to throw them down to a more dangerous level. And perhaps it drops you down and then you can't come back up that way. Notice the asterisks here. We got chimneys. Let's mention those. That's a kind of a natural formation. Or it could be an actual built chimney. But chimneys are part of natural cave formations. So keep that in mind. And look up, take a little time to look stuff like that up, because cavern and cave formation is a good place to do a little side exploring so that they're easier to explain and stuff. Trapdoor down 1 level, 2 levels. Total down 1, up 1, then down 2. Chamber at the end. Passage continues afterwards. They've got various options here for what happens with quote-unquote stairs. They're not all actual stairs, right? 1 in 20 has a door which closes egress for the day. 2 in 20, a door that closes egress for the day. So you can't get back out for 24 hours. Which is, might seem a little arbitrary, but maybe it's an interesting little effect. What is Table 7? Tricks and Traps. This is one of the larger tables in Appendix A, full of all sorts of fun stuff. Secret door unless unlocated. non-elf locates in. 3 and 20 gives you some adjustments to make to the typical, so then it's slightly different. Pit, 10 foot deep, 3 and 6 to fall in. 10 foot deep with spikes, and if those spikes are poison, 20 by 20 elevator room. These rooms, you might not realize how far you've been taken, but you would probably feel as these things go up or down, descends one level, and will not ascend for 30 turns, 10 minutes a turn. That's 300 minutes, which is 5 hours? 60 minutes, right? In an hour. So as 9 above, that's again an elevator room, but descends 2 levels, 2 to 5 levels. Now don't forget, you need to situate your levels one above the other in such a way that there's room for a shaft to go between them. And if something could go 2 to 5 levels, that needs to be able to stop off at each level. Because what's the point of saying it's 2 to 5 levels if it doesn't stop at each one? In which case there needs to be room not just for the shaft between the levels, but for the room 20 by 20 to be at each level where it stops. So keep that in mind when you're building out things and you want to create elevators and that sort of thing. Wall 10 foot behind slides across passage, blocking it for 40 to 60 turns. So these are just little annoyances, obstacles. They don't know. The players won't know how long that's going to be blocked. They only know that somehow it's blocked, and then they go off looking for something else. Do they come back and check if it's unblocked at some point? Maybe they do. Maybe in their wanderings they find that they need to come back this way anyway, and then they notice it's no longer blocked. That can be fun too. Trick trap. Oil equal to 1 flask pours on random person from a hole in the ceiling. Murder holes, as they called them in medieval castle construction. Followed by a flaming cinder. 2 to 12 hit points of damage and less successful savers. Magic is made, which indicates only 1 to 3 hit points of damage. So that's quite a bit different than what the typical oil. I mean, if it's a flask of oil, you can run it as it says elsewhere in the DMG, as well as on the Dungeon Master screen. You can include some splash damage for those nearby. So, take this with a grain of salt that this is a little bit different than the typical pit. 10 foot deep, 3 and 6 chance to fall in, so on and so forth. Move together to crush victims. The walls move together. Oh my goodness. Arrow trap, 1 to 3 arrows, 1 in 20 is poisoned. Spear trap, 1 to 3 spears, 1 in 20 is poisoned. Deadly, deadly, deadly tricks and traps in the DMG. Gas party has detected it, but must breathe to continue along corridor as it covers 60 feet ahead. Mark map accordingly, regardless of turning back or not. So it may well be that gas doesn't dissipate fast enough, and if they return this way, still in trouble. Door falls outward, causing 1 to 10 hit points, or stone falls from ceiling, causes 2 to 20 hit points of damage to each person, failing his saving throw versus petrification. Illusory wall, concealing 8, pit, that's 8 above on this table, or 20, a chute, or 7 to 10, a chamber with a monster and treasure, which is in table 5. Shoot down 1 level, cannot ascend in any manner. Is it greased? Is it closed off? You decide. You get to decide all that stuff. The gas sub-table, only effect is to obscure vision when passing through it. Blinds for 1 to 6 turn after passing through it. So maybe like a mild acid or something that irritates the eyes such that they won't function for you for up to an hour. Fear, run back 120 feet unless a saving throw versus magic is made. Sleep, party sound asleep for 2 to 12 turns as a sleep spell. So let's not forget that there are There is the possibility that it only affects a certain number of hit dice and not above a certain number of hit dice, and certain individuals like elves will be immune to sleep spells, so consider all of that when it happens, although the turns, 2 to 12 turns, is a little different duration, right? 14 to 18 strength adds 1 to 6 points of strength to all fighters in the party for 1 to 10 hours. Can you imagine that? Buffing out everybody. They will be coming down in this dungeon repeatedly to this location to get buffed up before they go out and explore other parts of the dungeon, if they figure this out. And you know what? If they do, let them. Let the baby have their bottle. If they find something that gives them a benefit, don't nerf it. See what happens. Let it happen. Let them take advantage of it. Believe me, the hubris of players to try to take advantage of something and then push that envelope, right? Press their luck. Push it a little too far. And then the conflict just naturally happens within the game, and that is what makes for fun stories as byproduct of gameplay. Is this stuff unfolds, and then you have a story. You don't have to force the story. You don't have to say, oh, it doesn't work anymore. Let it happen for as long as they want to try to take advantage of it. At some point, they're going to go to this thing and get buffed up and not be able to find anything worth being buffed up for within 10 hours. Maybe they'll set up a teleport spell. Maybe they'll come here before any adventure anywhere else. They'll teleport in. Boom. They'll get buffed up. All the fighters, 1 to 6 points of strength. They'll teleport off to whatever other adventure there. But you know what? They're using 2 teleport spells. They're using up, those daily resources. So, let it happen. They're paying for it. They're paying the toll. Sickness, return to service immediately. Just doubled over retching and coughing and wheezing and streaming at both ends, all of that stuff, right? Poison killed unless saving throw versus poison is made. That is what they call a big deal. Caves and caverns for the lowest levels. Now, one of the things they point out is that, well, some stuff might be constructed above, caves and caverns below, and some of the reasoning behind that is, sure, you can build yourself a dungeon underneath a castle or underneath some other stronghold and you're digging deep. But sooner or later, you're going to run into some natural tunnels and caverns and whatnot, and there may be other things already down here. So all of this stuff might be unexplored by those who built whatever was above. Even if what was built above was no longer occupied by its original inhabitants, all of this stuff below, the caves and caverns, it could still all exist, and it could be generations of different things coming and going. And there could be exits and long passages that go miles away where things might have come from that are now in this area. Keep an eye on size. If you put a big creature in somewhere, you better have some way for it to come and go so it can feed. If nothing's coming to it for long enough, it could starve, and then you just got a big old corpse of something that was big. So look at all these different options about caves, double caves, caverns, mammoths, and so forth. Mammoth cavern. We got pools down in this area, and these could be pools in a room, but natural pools in caverns and caves, right? No pool, no monster, pool monster and treasure, magic pool, see table 8C. Well, let's look at 8B first, because it talks about lakes. Enchanted lake, lake monsters, lake no monsters, no lake, no lake. So even though it might send you to this table to double check what kind of lake, there might not be a lake. Determine monster and treasure where appropriate. On the encounter matrix, enchanted lake leads any who manage to cross it to another dimension, a special temple, if a special temple is available. Otherwise, treat it as a lake with monster. 90% chance that monsters will guard lake. Magic pools. Turn gold to platinum or lead. One time only. will, on a one-time only basis, add 1 to 3 or subtract 4 to 6. Add or subtract one characteristic, all who stand within it. One time only, but it's permanent. Pretty nice. Talking pool, which will grant one wish. And, the stat thing, it's 50-50. Your stat might go down, so maybe you don't take the chance if you see somebody else getting the bad end of that stick. Talking pool will grant one wish to characters of its alignment and damage others from 1 to 20 points. Wish can be withheld for up to 1 day. Pool's alignment is lawful good, 1 to 6. Lawful, okay. Transporter pool, back to surface on a 1 to 7. This is not a 20-sider. 8 to 12 elsewhere on the level. 17 to 20, 1 level down. No. To 13 to 16, 1 level down. 17 to 20, 100 miles away for an outdoor adventure. That asterisk from above, where it says magic pools. In order to find out what they are, characters must enter the magic pool. You can't just look at it and know what it's going to do. All right, well, that's that. So, that's the end of those. Hey, it's been a long day. Let's call this video done. Thanks so much for joining me in the chat. I do appreciate it. Let's say this has been a look-see and commentary on the first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Master's Guide, Appendix A. Look for part 1 and 2 a little earlier this month, or late last month. The show streams live on Twitch each Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central, and it's archived on YouTube. Like, subscribe, follow, all of that other stuff. Be greatly appreciated. Don't forget, next week, last show of the year, and then we go on a winter hiatus until January 15th. Thanks to our Patreon supporters: Tom Tullis of Fat Dragon Games, Carlos Lysing of Castle Entertainment, Heath Farndon of the AD&D 20, Dave O'Brien, Heidi and Eric Gygax Garland of Gaxland, Vince Ragusa, a.k.a. the Vince himself, who was in the chat today, unauthorized user, and as always, Shane Bradley, extraordinaire. This has been the OK Grognard Show from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Bye-bye.